All right, so I'll continue from where we stop. I think the network issue. Okay, so coming to where we are, it's talking about creating multiple variable on the same line. Look at that: int, address number, shop number, office number, room number. These are all integers, so I don't need to break them down into different lines. Okay, I can at the same time do int a number, a num is equals to 78, s num is equals to 4, o num is equals to 6, r num is equals to 98. It is possible for me to do declaration alone on the same line of any type, but just ensure that the type of all the variables are the same. So I can also do int a num and assign value to them as I'm declaring. You can do it for any type of any type of variable. Okay, so if I run it now, there's no error with that. There's no error with that. Okay, we are still live here. There's no error with that. So still rolling. Still rolling. All right, the next thing I want us to talk about is then I want to talk about is how um our identifiers. Okay, what do I mean by identifiers? What I mean is the names that we are giving to our variables, right? Okay, so I was talking about identifiers. The next one is that all Java variables must be identified with a unique name, right? What this is telling us is that once I have done my age, I can no longer use it. That is the reason when I wanted to add another variable name here, I did address number. But here now I cannot do address number again because it has been used. So all identifiers must be what? The same name. All identifier must be the same name. Then second thing is that these unique names are called identifiers. That is my name, house address. The names you are giving to your variable must be what? Must be unique, and they are all called identifiers, right? Identifiers name, you can give them short name like X, Y, Z, but just let it be what? Uh, let it be something that you can remember. Let it match the intention. The reason you have X or you name it as X must be in line. For instance, let's say you are creating something like graph. You are now doing points, X point, Y point, right? X axis, Y axis. You can do that. X, Y, Z, right? So other rules for naming variables, name must begin with a letter. Even though it contains underscore, contains dollar sign, contains digit, make sure that they begin with what? With letter. Additionally, name should start with a lowercase letter. Name should start with a lowercase letter. Okay. It is not that if you start with uppercase it won't work. It will work, right? But by convention, because there are other things that should start with capital letter. So when we get there, I'll be explaining that. So names can also begin with dollar sign. You can also begin with an underscore, and don't give the identifier, ensure that you didn't give them space. Like my house number, there should be no space. You write them together. So those are the things under identifiers. Now when we talk about variables, when we talk about variables, I told you we have several types of variables depending on what we want to do, right? So I've mentioned integer, I've mentioned float, I've mentioned character, boolean, string, but all of these guys are divided into two. We have the primitive and the non-primitive data types. The primitive and what? And the non-primitive data type. The primitive data type are about 7 to 8, while the non-primitive data types are 3 or more. So in the primitive data type, we call it primary data type. Primary, like that is, from the word primary, primitive, and non-primitive means non-primary data types. So the primitives are byte, short, integer, long, float, double, boolean, and character. So depending on the program you are coding, the type of variable you use, right? Let me show you those variables that have been mentioned. I've introduced integer, float, character, boolean. So other types are byte, short, long, double that I have not mentioned. So why double? Double is advance of float. Instead of you to use float, you can use double. But sometimes you use float because you don't want to exhaust or overuse memory, right? When you are creating a variable, weigh what you are supplying, what type of value, likely value that will be supplied by your users. So float and double are the same, only that double has more storage capacity than float. Same thing as short, long, and integer. Short, long, and integer with byte, right? And then we have boolean and character. So those are the primitive data type. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? And the non-primitive data type are the strings. Look at that, strings, array, I think classes, string, array, and classes. So those are the non-primitive data type. Non-primitive data type. String. So what do I mean by non-primitive data type? They are objects. You create object from them, right? You create object from the array, from the string, from the classes. Okay. So those are the non-primitive data types. So the other time I was talking about the value that they can store. So explaining from byte, byte can only store 1 byte. That is 1 byte, that is 8 bits, right? That's 8 bits. So byte can store 8 bits of information. That's 1 byte. Then short can store 2 bytes. You can use byte to store whole number. You can use short to store whole number. But when you use them, when you know that the value you are storing is not that large, for byte you can store from -128 to +127. While short, you can store from -32,768 to +32,767. Then integer is 4 bytes, short is 2 bytes, integer is 4 bytes. You can store whole number from 2 billion, -2 billion to +2 billion. While long, you can store to trillion or more. And then float is 4 bytes. Float can have 6 to 7 decimal points. What do I mean by that? When you create something as float, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal point, alright, to 7 decimal point. While double can have about 15 decimal points. So anytime you know that your user may likely have less than 8 decimal points, you use float, for memory management, right? And then when they can store more than that, then you use double. Ensure that you manage your memory with the use of variable data type. You don't just apply any data type. Because double is used everywhere does not mean double is sufficient, like it's enough. So weigh your program, because the amount of variable you use determine the amount of memory your program will consume on your system. And when your software is too heavy, system will be shutting down, or it will be affecting your system in a nutshell. So, and then boolean is 1 bit, character is 2 bytes. So that is on data type, right, in Java. So I'm going to write a simple program, and I will give you an assignment. You must submit before the next class. If you did not submit, we are not moving on, right? Because I must, be sure that what you just learned, you can apply it and it is working well. So let me create a simple calculator for you. I can just add two numbers right together. So how do I do that? I'm going to click on new page, right? I'm going to click on new page. So the page is still loading. While that is loading, let me see if I can manage this guy by removing all of this guy, right? I can do that. I can do that. So let me say print welcome, welcome to my simple, let me call it simple calculator. Welcome to my simple calculator. Then don't forget, I want to get input from the user. So I will import java.util